Hello and welcome back to Boneheads. This is Rich and I'm joined once again by Ben.
Hey everybody, on today's episode 25, we're going to be talking about specialist tournaments, why we all love Blood Bowl, and the usual games, hobby and star players. But today we have a very special guest. We are joined by Rob. Hey Rob, how are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you.
So Rob is based in North Wales and runs a couple of tournaments over there, and we're very lucky to say he's been supporting us with the podcast since we really started.
Yeah, it really has.
And dangerously for him, he's almost as crazy for Blood Bowl as we are, if not more so. And as we're going to be talking about specialist tournaments, you've already run one, and I know you've attended at least one, so it made sense to get you on and talk about, which we will do in our first topic for the day. So we're going to move on to news. Okay, so news, what have we got this week?
There's nothing new on Kickstarter, unfortunately, or Indiegogo. Everybody's just decided to give it a break just before Christmas, I reckon. However, there are a number of things that are potentially coming up in the pipeline. So Hungry Troll are releasing a Squig team very soon. So we are looking at something that we think is potentially goblins, but they haven't released much information on it at all.
Yeah, it's just a teaser now for the Squig team, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. I mean, I reckon we could turn it into the Squig team, the secret Squig team. But at the moment, it looks like it's going to be a funny little take on goblins.
This is, from the looks of it, it's looking like it's for the Fumble secret team, not the Stunty League team. Is that what you were going to say, Rob?
I was going to say, actually, I think you could probably use it for Underworld. So you have the goblins as the Skaven and the Squigs as the goblins.
Yeah, I see that. It's got a massive Squig. It's got two massive Squigs, and the Fumble team has got a Cave Squig and a Mangler in it. And I wonder if the big guys, because there's a couple of huge Squigs in that.
The Trolls.
Oh, it could be the Trolls, yeah.
Could be the Trolls, yeah. I'll be interested to see how that actually pans out and the way they move forward with it.
But there's probably a couple of different things you can do with it.
Oh, yeah. There's definitely going to be different ways of being able to utilise it, 100%.
A lot of the companies that do different models do build them so that you can run them as multiple teams. We've seen it with the special stunty ones, haven't we, with like a couple of the other ones where you can use them for various stunty teams.
Yeah, definitely. And it
works really well.
That people are trying something a little bit different as well.
So most of these look very old school, although there is a frog Squig and there is a Squig that looks like a terrifying version of the blue dude from Monsters University.
Solid.
Oh, no, the green dude, Mike Wazowski.
Oh, Mike Wazowski. That one. Yeah. I know the one you mean. Yeah, again, Hungry Troll do good stuff anyway, so the quality looks great.
But we don't have a price, we don't have a release date. All we do is there's just this teaser pit, which Joe from the Employment League tagged us in.
He did indeed. So hi,
Thanks,
Joe. RNE Studios are re-releasing, or have just re-released their three most popular teams by the looks of it: the Lizards, the Skaven, and the Slan.
So they do a load of teams and a load of models, but the price is, I say
top tier, isn't it?
It's high. It's probably cheaper than Games Workshop Star Players. But the teams are so expensive. So each one of these teams they've just re-released in resin. The rodents, the amphibians, and the
Ceratops.
Yeah, that's Ceratops. They're €100 each.
They are €100 each.
Rob, did you get a chance to have a look at these?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I mean they look like they're really good teams for some people, but they didn't grab me particularly. I don't know. I don't know. Didn't like them.
The difficult thing is, like, for €100, which these days is basically £100.
Yeah.
It's a very cool team. They look like big models, but I think if I was going to go for an alternative lizard build, FNAF do the frogs ones that we saw.
They do.
And
yeah.
I think they're a bit cheaper. Yeah, exactly. Yes, they're a bit cheaper, and the models are probably about the same size. So it's still, it's still horses for courses. So yeah, RNE Studios, we mentioned them a couple of times. They do some wonderful models, and they actually post on the Blood Bowl news community quite regularly saying, we've done this, these are out.
Yeah, cool. Sometimes they do the star players for free and discount and things like that as well, don't they?
Yeah, deal of the day and things.
Yeah, I mean the models themselves individually just didn't look bad. It's just it wasn't an aesthetic that particularly appealed to me. And also for £100, I would kind of be expecting things like coaches, assistant coaches, cheerleaders, tokens, that kind of complete teamness. And they didn't have that. It's more money than I was looking to spend on a team, so I probably stopped looking at that point.
Yeah. So when we look at Kickstarters, we look at about £75 for the full team, and you've always got extras, haven't you?
Always,
Dice and tokens and things like that. And we think that's on the top end of once a year you pick a very lovely team that comes around and really ticks your box, and you go in on it, which is brilliant. Like the Pirates Kickstarter, a few months ago. Like one or two of the lads from our club just went in on it and were like, you know what, 80 quid, job done, loads of stuff.
Yeah,
it's really cool. But paying €100 for a single team is a big investment. The difference is though, you get this in a week.
You do get that in a week, and you are very unlikely to find anybody else with it. Ever.
Well,
I suppose the other
unlimited runs as well.
The other thing is a Kickstarter is to a certain extent a gamble, even with a very trusted company. It's not a pre-sale; it's a something else, isn't it? It's a Kickstarter, whereas this is a sale. You will get it,
and they're always discounted.
Yeah.
So I'm just having a quick look at Fanath because I know we mentioned the Frogs team, but their Frogs team with 22. All right, here we go. 16, €80.
It's 20 quid cheaper,
and that's with I love that big frog model.
He is good, isn't he?
Dudes, and I mean,
the Croc's a frog.
And again, that's probably about the upper limit. Morgan Frog, best model. I need to buy that. Come payday, I'm just buying that. I don't even care. I don't even mind. Well, we've got lizards coming soon. He could be my Croxicle.
He could be your Croxicle.
Yeah, fantastic. So, news-wise, lizards, we saw the spoiler. We've had no information since.
No, we're looking at 6 weeks maybe?
Oh, God knows. It could just literally be on any given Saturday. Not Sunday. On any given Saturday, Games Workshop could be like, by the way, you lose £50 next week, but you do get some loot.
I think normally on the Monday they drop what's going to be on their social media, on their Twitch channels, don't they? So if Blood Bowl looks like it's coming up on that, it's probably about 3 weeks after that would be.
Yeah, you're
my
probably
guess.
Right. But I'm quite looking forward to seeing them. Although that would only be the third team this year.
Yes. So do we get a fourth team for Christmas?
I very much doubt it.
I don't think so. I think they're staggering it a bit more now.
But you can't actually say that with Games Workshop because they went boom, halflings straight into Wood Elves.
Yeah.
They could go Lizards and then straight into the next team. And rumours are Amazons,
I reckon, / Norse.
Norse.
I've heard rumours of Amazon's Lizardmen new starter box. That would be cool.
Oh, the infamous tweet.
Yes.
Rumour. That would be interesting. It would make sense, but I think it would make too much sense for Games Workshop.
Yeah.
Like,
well, if they were going to do that, they'd probably drop it around Christmas time, so people get Christmas presents.
Maybe that'd be quite cool. But anyway, so we saw that, and the other spoiler talking about FANAF is they've been teasing that awesome retro-looking dwarf team. Did you get a chance to have a look at this one, Rob?
The runner with the stripy shirt, I think he might be my favourite model in Blood Bowl. I don't know what it is about him, but he's the one on the right-hand side. Those models, each of them look like they have so much character shoved into them.
They are a fantastic... They look like the old Games Workshop stuff. I'm worried about the size.
They look like the old Games Workshop stuff, but they look like they're the sort of new quality sculpts. Does that make sense? The old aesthetic with the new technology behind it. I've got a dwarf team. I bought it as soon as they came out. I sprayed it gold. I did nothing else to it. That might actually encourage me to play dwarves if I got that team. But
I'm getting this team for a Dungeon Bowl team. I've got a dwarf team. I've got I've got a second edition dwarf team. I've never really played dwarves, but these models are great.
Yeah, they look fantastic. The Slayers too. Again, each of them seems to tell a story. You could, I like it when models tell stories. I tend to pick my skills on my teams on that guy's trying to hide a mallet behind his back. He's got sneaky gear. And I think that dwarf team would do that. It would inspire you to create a story for that team.
Yeah, I really hope we see a couple of special characters or special weapons for them as well. But they've been doing a great job of spoiling it bit by bit, and I'm sure that the Kickstarter will land soon enough because they did a heck of a job with the Games of North.
They really did.
Teams, and the sizes were brilliant for those as well. So
even the miniature comparison.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I think that's helpful when you get to see the miniature comparisons.
Absolutely. Then we've got the what was it called?
Chaos Factory.
Chaos Factory stuff.
So Chaos Factory have just They appeared in the last sort of week and a half, 2 weeks, saying that we're now doing little bits and pieces, and they showed us score markers that they've created, one for Nurgle and one for Bretonnian. They look absolutely brilliant, and if anybody's got the Blood Bowl card game,
oh yeah, of course,
the fan markers are it's a similar sort of concept to that. So it's literally just a couple of dials, but there's a pass template. There's the word I'm looking for. Template on the back, and they just look beautifully done. But they've gone all in, so they're starting to do pictures at the moment. They're doing a load of new tokens. They're doing dugouts. They're doing dice bags, dice cups.
Yeah.
By looking at the Facebook page, they initially set up a couple of 3 years ago, and then just didn't do anything for ages and ages, and have come back with a bit of vengeance and trying to do something about it. But it looks brilliant. It looks really well done.
So that's Chaos Factory on Facebook.
Chaos Factory, yeah.
They've got the dials are cool. They're only €6.
I know, and that's it. I hope they do loads, because I could quite happily have that sat on the side.
It's quite funny because a lot of pictures, for some reason, come without the score zone.
Yes, listen, Ben.
Yeah.
Ben from the club, you've got a pitch with no score markers.
It's got two pitches.
Two
from
pitches,
the same
no
company,
score markers.
and it's got turns and rerolls and no score marker.
I think the Deep Cut Studios have that. They missed one of the tracks. I can't remember which one.
I think
But
that
it
might be
just-
the ones he's got.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're lovely, lovely pictures, but missing that thing kind of... It was the score, I remember. It just slightly annoyed me. But, otherwise
I
they're
think that's fair
perfect. And if you've got something you can add to a mat like that, which personalises it and makes it your team, I don't see how that can be a bad thing. I didn't see these. I obviously missed the link, but I didn't see these. But they do sound really good.
Yeah, they are good. You definitely take a look at them, mate. They look like they've been really well thought through, very well put together as well.
I've got one more thing too.
Go for it, Rob. What do we got?
Did either of you see the Blood Bowl World Cup press conference?
I didn't see it, actually. I was at work. I didn't get a chance to...
I only got to dip in and out of it, but it was just the fact that Blood Bowl's now got to the point where it was having a press conference, and the bit of it I saw was them explaining what Blood Bowl was, which suggests to me that they weren't necessarily marketing it at Blood Bowl players.
No,
I just think that's
local press. I think
think
that's the local press they're asking.
That's impressive, though, that a Blood Bowl tournament's got to the point where local press are interested.
It's really cool. I mean, the World Cup's got nearly 1,500 players, isn't it? And it's such a huge event that it's great to see that level of interest. And I know there's some opportunities there to grow it next time, and I think it's great that what Torsten's doing, getting the press involved and doing everything that they can. I think it's really good. It's good to see the hobby come this far.
Yes. Yeah, I think, it looks like the NAF and the World Cup team have worked really hard on it. I just wish I could be there.
Yeah, same here, actually. I think it'll be a really good event. Right, let's move on to hobby. Okay, so over to hobby. We'll start with you, Rob. Been playing any Blood Bowl recently?
Our local league just kicked off. It was meant to start around the beginning of September, but due to Secret Carnage, I was a bit late getting the rule back out. But
it's only the middle of September. It's not too bad.
Yeah, last Wednesday we had an accidental sort of start of the league night. Four of us got together, played 2 games, and then on Sunday I managed to squeeze 2 games in whilst I was working in full pint games. So not too bad.
I love that idea.
Yeah, I mean, I do actually do work as well, but it was good.
So what's how many players in your league?
At the moment, I think there's 6 that have played games, 2 more that are interested, and there's another couple who are kind of lurking around the edge. So
like the new ones that came to Secret Carnage.
No, because they live a bit too far away, each of them.
Oh, that's a shame.
But Nathan, who was at Secret Carnage, was definitely in. And a couple, I don't think anyone else who was at Secret Carnage is in the league because they live further away. But there's plenty of local players who are playing.
So how much? So you say you got 3 games in?
I've got 3 games in this week, which is I think a record for me for a week without going to a tournament.
How's your league structured then? Is it just open or?
Yeah, it's a bit of a free-for-all. We tend to use Facebook to arrange games. So the first sort of 3 months, it's play as many people as you want. If one person starts shooting ahead, it tends to be me, and I tend to scale back. If not, I'm the league commissioner, so I'll have a word with them and ask them to scale back slightly, or start a new team or whatever the appropriate response is. So it's free for all, and then it's top 8 playoffs. At the moment, we've got 8 players said they're playing, so essentially everyone's going to get into the playoffs. If someone else comes in,
there's nothing wrong with that.
No, so it being a free for all at the start isn't really a big problem.
Have you got a game? Have you got a game limit? Sorry.
No game limit.
It's just the most wins winning in, basically.
Yeah, so it's 3 points for a loss, 5 points for a draw, 7 points for a win, and you get a bonus 5 points for the first time you play someone each league. The idea is to encourage people to play everyone in the league.
That's quite good.
Yeah. It works well. It means that I've played 3 games, lost all of them, and I'm currently in the league. As everyone else is. So, yeah, but that's going to change. That's going to change. Yeah. So, 3 games, not bad. The first one was against Nathan, who was at Secret Carnage. That was one of those games where absolutely nothing went right for Nathan. I was playing my halflings. And I stole every single one of his rerolls.
Yeah.
And he ended up winning 2-1. He should have been more like 4-1. He failed a go for it, which cost him a touchdown, and he failed unopposed dodge, again costing him a touchdown. There are a few other things that just went wrong for him. The dice weren't on his side, but he still won. He's a good player. So yeah, that was quite a fun game. Then the second game, again, it was a 2-1 loss for me. I did foul an ogre to death, which was then apothecaried and fouled to death again. So, bad start for the league for you in there. But anyway.
Losing a fresh ogre isn't the worst thing in the world.
No, I got the ogre off the pitch. I needed to get it off the pitch. My trees were scared. And then on to playing Ray, who actually was at Secret Carnage.
He was playing the Savage Orcs, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
Really
Ray
nice
only started playing about a month before Secret Carnage, so I think the game I played with him in his league, including Secret Carnage, was about his 7th ever game of Blood Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
And he's done really well to get a team painted, to learn the rules, all that kind of stuff. And he proved it by winning 2-1. By the beginning of the second half, I had 8 players total left out of my 14-player team. And by the end of the game, 7 of my players were in the casualty box. He had caused 6 casualties. 4 of those were missed next game, and 2 were dead.
Oh my goodness.
And the rest, yeah.
Fortunately, they're throwaway, aren't they, Halfling? So before we move on, I've got 2 questions for you. Are you running any catchers or hefties in your team?
Yeah, I'm taking all of them.
You're taking all of them? Yeah, it's all good. So you're taking catchers and hefties, so you've used the new positionals in the team. Cool. And the second question is, as the tournament commissioner, are you running halflings to give your players sort of new players a good opportunity to get SPPs and things?
I'm playing halflings because I love halflings, and I find it more fun. I might find it more fun when I know I'm going to lose a game. If I play my Skaven, there's a chance I can win, and that stops being fun for me.
Yeah, it creates the edge. Okay, fantastic. So, Rich, any games of Blood Bowl recently?
Yes, many, unsurprisingly. So I've been to Secret Carnage. So I played 3 games there with my Forest Goblins, the stunty Forest Goblins. I ended up winning 2, losing 1, and that's where Randall had his first tournament as well.
That's really cool.
And Randall had his first.
Who did you lose to?
Randall.
So he drove 4 hours to lose to his own son.
Yeah, and you know the worst bit? I was trying.
You really were trying.
I was trying it, and I didn't want to give Randall an easy ride, but he played well, and I managed to get into 2-1, so it was a 2-1 grind for him. I played fairly well considering it was a bunch of armor 6 goblins.
Did you go for the full 4 stickers?
I did.
Yeah.
And Chomper and Stomper.
Well, Chomper and Stomper is a great player. The stickers are very optimistic.
Yes. Stab. But they did well.
Like armor 8 and armor 9 teams, it's just
Yeah, it wasn't ideal.
Just 3 blocks.
It was it was a free for all. So so I played those 3. I've played a game against what have I done? Ian played against.
Yeah, you played against his Nurgle.
I did play against his Nurgle. Was that recently? Or was that? Oh,
that was last week. Oh no, you played against the JCB Gits.
That was it. Yes, Orcs. I played against Orcs.
So
that was my final minor league.
2 Orc games, 2 wins, which is brilliant.
Yeah, so I beat him 1-0. That was tough. But in the end, I ended up.
That was Orc versus Orc, wasn't it?
It was. He ended up having 5 in the injury box.
So that got you to second place in our league?
It has. Who's first?
Milton's Undead. We're 4-1-1.
Oh.
And you're 3 and 3 draws.
3 draws. Oh.
It's actually quite close at the top. We've only got a couple of weeks left, so it'll be interesting to see the other teams catch up.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool.
So I've done that one, and I've done a lot of BB2 recently.
Are you playing your Skaven?
I am playing Skaven on hard mode. No gutter runners.
What?
No gutter runners. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, no, it's weird.
But I'm doing well. I am doing well. So I've been playing on that and enjoying that so much so that I've created the team.
Yeah, which is very, very cool. You
So
got your rat ogre now.
I did. I got a rat. So that's all sorted as well. So it's all come together quite well. I need to do more painting, but many Blood Bowl games have been had and more creation has happened.
Fabulous. Games for me, I think the last game I got in was a very tough game. It was in the Major League. So we've got 2 leagues primarily in our club. One's Minor League, which is for brand new teams. And then the Major League is for the teams when they grow up and develop. And so it's kind of sitting in the 1600 TV. And I played against Dan, who brought his big, fat Orc team. And actually, I got away with it. It was a tough grind. I managed to get a ball steal to equalise into the second half. Right at the end of the first half, and then pulled off the second. So it's a low-scoring game for my Skaven, but it was a 2-1, and it was a very tough game. And I think somebody probably died. Yeah, someone did die, but I think it was only a lineman. But that's what Skaven linemen are for.
They're for dying.
Yeah, so that's quite good. I've done very well with the Neverbay Nightmares this season.
You have indeed.
So how many players do you have in your league?
I don't know. On the way to 20. The problem is that
Some drop in, drop out.
Yeah, the way we run the league is it is an open format. So we have a period of time within which you can play X amount of games, and those games go towards your score. So it means that the regulars who can come every week normally take 2 teams, and the irregulars still can manage to finish their games and get into the playoffs if they got a chance. And we run eternal, so there's no redrafting anymore because that was
right.
Horrible. So the guys who can only come once a month, can still, they don't lose their team, and it means that the regulars get a chance to play with several teams at once, which is great fun. So far this season, with the new spreadsheet, we've got 40-something games recorded in a couple of months.
That's good going, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really cool. It's really cool to see all the teams unfold, and we've had 3 or 4 new players in the last couple of weeks. So we might be over 20 now, which is really cool.
Great. Really good. I'm hoping to.
Nice. Yeah.
I'm going to see how many games I can get in with my not Dark Elves before the end of the month.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. You're playing Ian tomorrow.
I am playing Ian tomorrow,
which is really cool. Cool. So, hobby. Rob, sounds like you're on the hunt for a giant. Is that right?
Yeah. Halflings. We'll talk about the Mana Bowl, I think, a bit later. But
we will, absolutely.
I'm definitely taking... was it not last episode, the episode before, you said you were thinking of taking your evil halflings with their giants?
Yeah, I've got Chaos halflings on the way.
Yeah, I wasn't being the one with the smallest giant, so, I now have to do research into how to fit a stupidly large model onto a very small base.
1 foot. 1 foot and a 40mm base. But for the love of goodness, have replacement tokens.
Yeah, I've already got a stack of those, but yes. Other than that, I've been painting up my halflings. I've gone and got myself one of the Stu Slingers from Warlord Games. That's a star player. A hot pot star player for Stunty League, or just as the inducement. And before you told me who the star player was we're going to be discussing this week, I started painting one of those.
That's very, very, very cool.
Just randomly, it was in my 2 paint box, and I was fed up of painting halflings.
Hobby-wise, I've been not really doing a great amount of stuff. I painted 4 Sevens teams for the most recent series of the YouTube show.
That is plenty.
Yeah, in a day, which I had man flu and I was out of action for almost a week. And then it got to the weekend, and I was like, I'm filming for the first time tomorrow, and I've got 4 teams that I want to use, and none of them are painted. So I managed to absolutely smash them out, and I was reasonably happy.
No, they've come out well.
Yeah, they were right, and they look all right on camera, which is really, really
the
nice.
best.
Yeah. So
do you paint differently for camera then?
No, I just paint for camera, which is technically painting differently, I suppose. But it was the day before an event. That's the best time to do painting.
I was just wondering if they're going to be using bigger block colours so they showed up or anything like that.
To be honest with you, my Lazy Boy patented painting scheme kind of works that way anyway, which is prime the whole model one colour that you want most of it to be, then agrax it and paint in the other colours, and then agrax it again, and what it does is it just naturally shades stuff. You've got your few pop highlights and it blocks things out really nice, which means you can get a model done in no time. And basically that's the original contrast scheme, I think.
I'm a big fan of the Army Painter spray base coat dip approach.
Yeah, no, the Army Painter brown is amazing.
Yes.
That's the most useful paint I think ever.
Oh, that's what I used in my dryads.
Yeah, we've all run out of it.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah,
everybody have.
We can't be bothered, and it costs like as much to post as it does to buy because of terrorists.
Yes.
So, which I think is probably fair enough. So, Rich, you've been painting some stick people.
I have. Well, not dark elves.
Actually, the dark and red scheme looks really good.
It does look really good. So I've gone with the Black Oak Outcast. So all it was a black prime, a little bit of grey dry brush, and I'm painting the highlights and the skin on the spike revenants, things like that, corn red, and then highlighting with a little bit of Wazdacker red.
Rich can't paint human skin, so he paints everyone with red skin.
Pretty much.
I can't paint human skin,
which is a brilliant way around it, and looks really good on the.
I've never realised that until that moment.
It looks really good on your Renegades.
Yeah, it does look good on the Renegades.
It's really cool way of tying them all together.
I can't paint, and the green looks alright when I did it on the. Apparently I can't paint human skin.
Well, the new contrast paints are really good for that. I've been impressed. Not impressed enough to use them properly, but, But what the other guys have done with it, it's really good.
Yeah, Milton has some good results too.
Yeah, I had a bit of success on the Morgan Thorpe figure with the Gilliman Flesh one.
Yeah, they were out. They was out of stock of that, so I ended up accidentally buying Dark Oath, which did work for the Wood Elves, as a base coat, and then highlighted up with Elf or Kislev Flesh or something. It worked okay. It worked just fine.
Yeah, so I've done a little bit of that. I've got the next thing on the list is going to be my Undead Pirates to actually put some work in on.
Yeah, you got 6 weeks.
Yeah, that's alright. Got plenty of time. He says so. Yeah, so I'll get them primed soon and get that painted up. But I'm yet to work out a scheme for them. I'm thinking blues and greens maybe. That's because it's something a little bit different. But yeah, so I've got that to do. That's my next sort of foray into Blood Bowl.
And I've got to build a couple of chainsaw halflings to go with the Chaos Halfling team.
That's cool.
But that's it for the halflings, which is cool. So
yeah, that's good.
I'll hopefully get that in a couple of weeks and be ready for the tournament, which should be really good fun.
I'm looking forward to it.
So talking of tournaments, just going to quickly mention this now before we go into the next topic. We do have Tombstone Tournament coming up on the 26th of October. It's a horror-themed event, so it is restricted teams, but we've replaced the normal Muggle teams with some fancy secret teams from Fumble.
Yeah.
So you've got Ethereal, you've got Undead Pirates, you've got Chaos Halflings, and a few other teams. Have a look at the tournament pack. It's on our Facebook page, it's on the event page, and it's on our website at boneheadpodcast.com/tournaments. And on that, we will start properly talking about fancy tournaments. Okay, so the first topic for the episode is we're talking about specialist tournaments.
What we do.
So we've got, there's been a news release from the NAF. At least they did a variance review. So we're big on Blood Bowl 7s and playing different ways to play Blood Bowl. And fantastically, they've done a little bit about having specialist tournaments be eligible to be NAF sanctioned. So when you NAF sanction a tournament, they have to check over the rules to make sure that actually you're playing Blood Bowl, essentially. Mm-hmm. And the idea is that they collate the results and give players rankings. So they it encourages players to play in NAF tournaments so they can build up their stats, because everybody loves stats. But also to make sure that tournaments are reasonable. Mm-hmm. Which is really, really cool. So because of that, they've had restrictive rules before about tweaking the team rosters and going too crazy on special players and special rules and things like that. But now they have introduced the fact that they are going to be looking at specialist tournaments. So here we go. We're not hosting a rule set for specialist because by its very nature, it's special. This is the place where we can now house your tournaments that previously didn't fit into our sanctioning structure. Do you run an all-stunty event? Are your house rules so out there that you fear they won't receive sanction under the Blood Bowl rules? Contact the tournament director and we'll see if we can record the games you play on the NAF website in this new variant section. I hope we can bring as much Blood Bowl as possible into our big tent. So, first of all, like Rich said, that's what we do. We really love that kind of thing. We really love taking Blood Bowl to the next level. And we've played in a couple of events where they do not even remotely sit within what was historically the NAF sanctioning. And because of that, I think you probably lost a bit of impetus for the event from the NAF tournament players. And their move to include that, I think, is really good. So, first things first, what are specialist tournaments? Rob, this is why you're here. So, hit us with an example of a specialist tournament. I believe you know one.
Yeah, the two I've been involved with is I run the Secret Carnage and I've been to the Manor Bowl. So I guess the Secret Carnage is a sensible one for me to talk about.
Absolutely, go for it.
With the Secret Carnage, I wanted to kind of stress the hobbying side of the hobby more than the playing side of the hobby. I did things wrong, I'll do things better next time, but at the same time, I kind of think that happened. Everyone who turned up, with the exception of Rich, I think had actually made a team specifically for that game, or at least had got a few new things added to their team specifically for that event, and that was kind of what I was going for. So my tournament, you couldn't bring any of the 26 standard teams. So
it was all secret all day long.
Also, well, it wasn't secret. It was the secret teams, the Stunty Legend teams, the teams from the My Dugout app. All those teams, if you included one of them in a regular NAF tournament, it would stop it being NAF sanctioned, and that's a good thing. If you turn up to a NAF tournament, you should be able to know all the teams that are going to be there. You know, it makes it fairer rather than this guy brought a team you've never heard of before. But
yeah, it creates that standard playing environment, doesn't it?
Yeah,
so
I think that's good. But the fact that they're giving you that freedom to do something slightly out there, I think I like that. So essentially, with my tournament, there was, I think, at one count, something like 126 possible teams.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I think it was literally that.
Yeah, which was crazy. It meant that there was no way I could make that balanced or fair, or even necessarily have read over every team roster before the event. Every potential team roster, obviously all the ones that were playing, I read over. But yeah, so I think the doing things that you can't do otherwise, the craziness, the difference, that kind of extra scope's what makes the special things special.
Yeah, the great thing about it is it does highlight that hobby aspect. So we've mentioned this many times. There's kind of a Blood Bowl trifecta, which is the story, the elite, the actual gameplay, like the tournament or the puzzle of every individual game, and then there's the hobby aspect of it, which is building your team and building your franchise and have it being something really unique. And it's kind of like one of those star graphs for every player on their interests and where they line up. And specialist tournaments do tend to be much more towards the story and the hobby aspects.
100%.
So our first proper Blood Bowl tournament, 2 secs. Our first tournament that we went to properly was Manor Bowl Stunty Cup, which you've already mentioned, Rob, which is all, it's the 3 standard Stunty teams and the Stunty League Fumble Book, which is another 20-something teams, including star
26
players.
off the top of my head.
I think it's something like that. It's either 26 with the OG teams or excluding them. So but every team is new. Every team is unique. Yeah,
but it also means that bringing a Stunty team to a Stunty format, you know, the fact that your guys are only strength 2, you know, in a standard game, that's a big disadvantage. When it's Stunty on Stunty, that's kind of, you know, the same as everything being strength 3.
So the cool thing about this, so it's massively about the hobby, and generally speaking, it's massively about the background. But what it accidentally ends up doing is creating a fantastic and unique sub-meta where anything that's already existing has a very different meaning and a very different identity, and you are playing in a completely different Blood Bowl world, which is why it's so fantastic. So that was our angle when we went with Bonehead Bowl. So Bonehead Bowl would not have been sanctioned under the old rules, and I will find out in a couple of weeks' time whether it will be sanctioned in the new rules when I submit the pack for next year's. But the crux of that was you could use any of the regular teams, but you could also take a mixed team built of two teams from. We had an alignment system, and using the alignment system, you had 239 different possible combinations of teams,
Yeah.
which was brilliant. So I mean, everyone just took the biggest players they could find, really, which was awesome.
I've got high hopes for it as well.
Yeah, and it created that, like I said, another meta and just a completely different environment to play Blood Bowl. But that mixed with Mana Bowl, and obviously I didn't get to attend Secret Carnage, but what it does is it takes that competitive edge and replaces it with hobby and really exploring the meta.
Yeah.
Because you do not know what's going to be best. You've got no idea what team's going to be overpowered, except apparently Squigs. But and it is just new, and you've got all these combinations, and every game is more about the individual interactions on the pitch than the overarching sort of set piece play.
Mm-hmm.
And that, for me, is why I think the specialist stuff is so great. And I think that's probably why I love Sevens quite so much as well, because it does exactly the same thing. It takes a game, takes the core mechanics and applies it to a slightly different angle, which basically gives you a whole new game.
Yeah, it really does. It gets those creative juices flowing. I mean, what you said, Rob, about the fact that pretty much everyone except for myself had created a team specifically for Secret Carnage.
Yeah.
We had exactly the same thing for Bonehead Bowl.
Yeah.
And for Sevens as well.
So we had, three purebred teams.
Yeah.
And everybody else was a custom mixed team.
But not sort of like, I've got these two teams and I'll bash them together.
No.
Like, I'm going to create this team for this tournament.
Which was cool. Now, they could have just put two teams together, but actually it's such an opportunity to create something unique that we had some ridiculous stuff.
Like Richards with all his big constructs.
That's exactly what I was thinking of. Rob, it was awesome. He used a bunch of Privateer Press War Machine-like jacks as his ogres.
Yeah.
And he hated it because he said they didn't fit properly and he couldn't move them around. But he had these cool little magnetised flags to the back of them so that he could mark them as stunned or
prone.
Yeah, it was really, really cool.
It worked really well. And it looked so good as well.
I can see that working for a regular ogre team, but something like the Bonehead Bowl, giving him the push to do it. It's great. I love that idea. I suppose the one disadvantage to a tournament that encourages everyone to go out and make their own special teams is it's a sort of extra cost to buy in if you think you're expected to come up with a brand new team. But
that's why with Bonehead Bowl we allowed all the original teams as well, because we didn't want to isolate anybody and say you can't play it because you have to have a mixed team. Now, what it has meant is actually the purebred teams did really well. So when we go into this season, I've tweaked the rule set slightly to reward mixed teams.
Okay. Cool.
So as it stands at the moment, instead of doing the whole, you have to buy a fan factor with a reroll, every mixed team gets, basically every player has fan favourite. So every mixed team gets fame +1, regardless of the kickoff roll.
Oh, I like that.
So in addition to it, so if if your opponent rolls a 12 and you roll a double 1, they get fame +2. You still get fame +1.
Okay.
If you smash the roll, you get fame +3. The idea being is that the fans are riled up about seeing something ridiculous, and they're either going proper Gianluca and hating different Nathan change,
going for Gianluca. Yes.
Or they're just massively excited about the opportunity of seeing so much new content. Is that they're just basically rioting. So there's a little tweak that should give mixed teams a bit of a boost, without penalising people who really don't have the money or time to build a new team.
Yeah.
Now, something else we've seen is Tombstone. So Tombstone is a weird hybrid. So we wanted to keep it super themed, and this is Richard's baby. So he's gone all out with weather table, with kickoff table, and a restricted team list. And that is deeper because you've got the restrictions.
Yeah, and I was very keen to keep it as themed as it could be. I think if you end up letting anybody go in on it, you end up losing the whole aspect of it. Like, it's a horror themed tournament. It's literally on Halloween. Next year it is on Halloween.
Yes, it is.
And I didn't want to be like kind of, we've got this really awesome Halloween themed event, and then halflings turn up with their picnics strolling down through a graveyard. It just doesn't fit. for me, the aesthetic needed to be there. I'm hoping to have themed tokens on this. We're already in talks with Hobby Hermits trying to sort that side of things out.
He's done some cool stuff. Right?
Yes, we've got artwork coming through on it. I've got an idea for the trophy already as well, and just there's so much that can be done with it. And I think if you end up having mainstream teams or teams that don't fit that sort of idea, it just doesn't quite work.
But the downside of restricted events is you've got to give them more time, and you do have the opportunity of losing players. So in all of the specialist tournaments we've been to, we've had essentially less players, except Bonehead Bob, which was the same as Sevens, but then I think the Sevens kind of counts as a specialist tournament as it is anyway.
Yeah, I agree.
We've been to 2 Stunty Cups now, and there's been 8 and 10 or 12 players.
8 and 14.
That's good. We had 16 Bonehead Bowl, 14, 16?
14 at Bonehead Bowl and 14 at
Sevens.
Sevens.
And then Rob, you had 6 or 8 at
6.
Secret Carnage? 6. Brilliant.
6.
So you do get a reduced player count, but the feel of the event is much, 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 much more different. So
everybody's got the same buy-in.
Yeah, they're there to just muck about with Blood Bowl, and someone's going to win some stuff.
See, I had people coming to Secret Carnage who said they wanted to come to it because they didn't think it was going to be a competitive event. I think it's nice that there was that kind of space for them.
Honestly, that's the biggest thing we took away from Mana Bowl.
Yeah.
We went, it was our first tournament, and actually it was awesome. There was no pressure. There was no one power gaming. And then that said, when we went to Birmingham, there was still nobody power gaming. That was 30-odd players. So I was really pleased with them.
But at the same time, I had half a dozen players who, I can rely on for things like North Wales Carnage Cup, saying that they weren't interested because it wasn't for them. And that's fine. Not everything is going to be for everyone.
Exactly. And that this specialist tournaments do give a completely, not completely different, but a very healthy alternative, I think.
Yeah.
So, talking very quickly of Secret Carnage, was there anything you picked up from there that you'd want to do differently next time?
Yes. There were too many bonus points. There was bonus points for everything. I mean, interceptions, completions. There were too many bonus points. I think I worked out you could get something like 60 points total from a match, and only about 18 of those were from winning the match. So definitely going to clamp down on those. I mean, it was fun, but hey. And then I think if you guys would be willing to let me use your mixed team rules, I'll be including the mixed teams.
Oh,
and
amazing.
Again, I'll probably let the standard 26 teams come in. So that's more like, I don't know, about 400 teams being allowed. But
that will answer that question of can Stunty League teams take on regular teams?
They did it right last time. When I used my Forest Goblins, I was the only Stunty team at Secret Carnage, and they came away with 2 wins.
That's not bad.
Not against the Beastman team.
No. Randall. The thing is, Randall took out my Chomper and Stomper turn 1.
Yeah, and I think Orcs would eat them alive.
I can't remember who it was. Did you play Nathan? Whoever it was, I had a conversation with them next day, and they were just ranting about Chomper and Stomper demolishing half their team. It's like, stop that!
I think that was Ray.
That might have been Ray, but he had a good game. He had loved it, but again,
he went through those orcs.
He was new to Blood Bowl, so he hadn't come across Ball and Chain before, and Chomper and Stomper, they're a bit fun, even in a normal team, format.
They would be crazy players.
You have touched on something there, Rob, which is around about new players. So while it does offer a very low competitive entry point, there generally speaking is a lot more to learn.
Yes.
So it's kind of you're one step forward, one step back. But I'm going to redirect the question to Rich here, which was, how did Randall get on playing against a bunch of teams that he's never come across before?
Really well, to the point where he was. I think he picked up their teams quicker than they picked up his. But
I know Nathan said at one point something like this does this, talking about his team. It was the first match of the day. It was Nathan versus Randall. And Nathan explained how something was going to happen. And Randall's like, no, it doesn't. This happens. Nathan was like, checks his roster and like, yeah, okay, you're right. And at that point, as he put it to me, he started trying to win. But, Nathan's a good guy. And Yeah, Nathan's a good guy. He's one of the better. He's one of the better players in our local league, and Randall gave him a run for his money.
Yeah,
with that game.
Randall's got such a great understanding of this game, particularly for his age. It's just insane. And
yes,
he will query things that he doesn't think are right, and not very often is that boy wrong.
No, he's willing to stand up for himself too, which I think is kind of important in a tournament format. If he thinks he's right, he'll say politely but firmly. I mean, apart from anything else, 3 games of Blood Bowl in a day. I mean, I played 2 on Sunday, and that tired me out. That's an impressive achievement of itself, having the concentration to get through 3 games. I thought he did really well.
Yeah, he really did.
Fantastic. That covers all the points I wanted to mention about specialist tournaments. Was there anything else you guys wanted to talk about?
I think there should be more.
I think we're going to see an increase. I think
there should be more. I mean, it's one of those things where if you go onto Blood Bowl community, ignoring the bits that we put on, but there's a good number of posts where people are saying, why doesn't this do that? And what about this? And wouldn't it be cool if, those are the starts of tournaments? That's how Bonehead Bowl came about, where we went, what would happen if you mixed 2 teams? And we just ran with it.
But I remember basically that happening on the podcast. You could kind of you could trace through, if you go back and listen to whichever podcast it was, where
episode 3.
Oh, was it episode 3 or was it episode 2 even before that, where you just came up with the idea as you were talking about something else, and we should explore this further and do a whole episode on it. And it was just that kind of spitballing of an idea. It was, this stupid idea that's gone back. Secret Carnage almost happened because I had an idea for dice I liked. I'm not sure it was quite that. I listened to your episode on the secret teams where you flippantly said something like, no one's going to be stupid enough to let anyone take stunty teams and secret teams to a tournament. And I was like, challenge accepted.
Hold my dice.
Yeah, but but from that I came up with an idea for dice I liked. I wanted to set those dice. So
they're beautiful as well.
No, it's fantastic.
I'm glad.
So, are you going to be doing Secret Carnage again next year?
The plan with Secret Carnage is it fits into the same story as North Wales Carnage Cup, because that's very story driven, and I hope Secret Carnage felt like it was story driven too. So the plan for Secret Carnage is to keep it going for at least another 3 years, because at that point it will become very relevant for the ongoing story of Carnage Cup. So
I'm going to ask you about North Wales Carnage Cup in a second, but before we do that, will you be requesting NAF sanctioning for Secret Carnage next year?
Yes, I will. I've been requesting that the NAF introduce a kind of weird bowl type category for a while now. When they had their big rules review thing come up a few months ago, I emailed Hawker, the local NAF rep, about that, and I think other people must have too, and it's great to see them moving forwards with this. I hope it encourages other people to run weird events, even if it's only you and a couple of other mates. It's still something a bit fun and a bit different.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll get to see more of them, and it will be nice to. I don't think the people's rankings in these kind of weird events are going to matter much, because it's going to be very dependent on an event as to exactly how well you can do at that event.
No,
but
that's great.
Yeah, I don't think it's a competitive format, so I think that probably limits it to a lot of NAF players. But I'll definitely be requesting. It at least gets listed on the NAF site, so it's easier for people to find, and that kind of thing going forwards.
So I'd love for you to talk us through North Wales Carnage Cup now, because I know you've got that coming up.
Yeah, so just flick to the right page of my notebook.
Very organised.
Yeah, that's on the 23rd and 24th of November in Wrexham. 2 days. I ran it last year, and again it's going to be happening this year. I've taken the feedback from last year, which was basically more beer and more games. So it's going to be held in a local pub. The story, I said, it's a very story driven tournament. It's basically a guy inherited a brewery when his parents died when he was relatively young, and he decided that what he wanted to do with this very successful brewery, it was making lots of money, was use it to fund a big Blood Bowl tournament. And that's kind of, it's a bit Howard Hughes. That's kind of where the story started, and it's gone forwards. So it's 3 games each day. The door prizes, we've got dice. There'll be some cards. They're on their way at the moment. I just had a message this morning from the guy brewing my beer for me to say that the beer is started. It's moved on to its next stage of production. So that will come. So you'll get a specially brewed bottle of beer with a label and cap on it. Again, all specially themed around the tournament. And then you'll get extra beer caps to use as tokens. A bit of breaking news. I have got technical commissions. A local commission painting service in Wrexham have very kindly offered to donate some of their time. So they're going to be painting a team donated by Gaspect Art. So anyone turning up at the event will get essentially a raffle ticket and a pro-painted Wood Elf team from Gaspect Art with a Tree Man from Hungry Troll that I happen to have will get raffled off. So it's a full 16-player team.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's 36 players at the moment. 15 are signed up as of yesterday. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Last year it was great. This year, taking on the feedback, it's going to be better. I'm hoping to run some sort of evening entertainment Saturday evening, whether it's a pub quiz or something more complicated. I haven't decided yet. But again, going into the kind of secrets, into the specialist tournament type things, one of the things I'm trying to do is push a little bit more creativity from people. I did it last year, and I had a Wordsmith Award for the best story written about team.
That seems very
that.
you.
Yeah, people love that, and I've actually, before I released the rule pack for this tournament, people had started emailing in their stories for their team for this year.
That's so good.
It's crazy, but people just seem to love it. They're really behind it. I don't know whether you guys have read Death on the Pitch, the Black Library Blood Bowl short story anthology.
No, I haven't read that one.
I've been in touch with all the authors from that, and there is a copy currently in Nottingham. So every time one of the authors comes in, it's being signed and passed along. So hopefully the majority of them will get to sign that. If I get it back a little beforehand, then I'm going to try and post it out small. But it's a big, heavy book. Return postage soon adds up on that. So unfortunately, I can't post it internationally to everybody. But hopefully, the vast majority of authors will sign that, and that'll be the award for the Wordsmith Award.
That's
and
fantastic.
A few of the authors have said they're looking forward to reading the stories from that too.
That's cool. So is it NAF sanctioned?
It is NAF sanctioned, yeah.
And is it part of the Southwest Tournament Championships?
No, I think it's part of the Wales Tournament Championships, but I think that happens automatically with it being in Wales. I haven't looked into that.
Cool. Sorry, I was just being nosy. Right.
No, I will look into that actually. If it is, I will publicise it on my social media. So the best way to find information about it is if you search Twitter or Facebook with @Wales Cup. You'll either find confused football fans wondering what's going on, or you'll find information about my Blood Bowl tournament.
That's very cool.
And then again, it's on Talk Fantasy Football.
Absolutely fantastic. Lovely job. Well, thank you very much, Rob. And we're going to move on to our next topic now. Okay, so the second topic is probably close to everybody's hearts and was really kind of having an exploration into what it is about Blood Bowl that makes the fan base so committed. So why we all love Blood Bowl. Popped a post out on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook to just gather some feedback, just to find out what it was that people really loved about it. Because I've mentioned it already on this episode. We've mentioned it loads of times. And I know that, I think, Rob, you were the first person to mention this to us about the 2 or 3 different types of Blood Bowl player.
Yeah, I think you were.
Did I? Oh, this was what I would like to see the NAF do as far as tournament sanctioning goes.
This was last year. I'm sure this was last year. It might not have been you, but I've accredited it to you in my mind anyway.
It was definitely, if it was a good idea, it was mine.
Definitely. But it was about the fact that there's the painting element of it, and then there's the playing element of it. And I'm sure you flagged that up when we were talking about Mana Bowl last year. And we developed it.
That sounds like me.
Yes, we developed it to have the story element as well, which really covers league, tournament, and hobby. Yeah. So I put a poll up on Facebook and had hundreds of responses, which was brilliant. And I've got to do a little shout out to multiple award-winning painter and local player Ian, who, bless his little heart, ticks every single box. You guys can probably see in the show notes his little face is in all of them.
I did notice that, and I wondered whether it was a mistake. I thought it was like a Milton thing again.
Yeah. So there's a couple of absolutely brilliant ones here that people have added in the poll. The first and my favourite one is one chap has put the girls is the reason they. So I put a post that say, "Why do you all love Blood Bowl? Doing some prep from an upcoming episode. We're now there, and we'd really like to know what it is about Blood Bowl that lights your game afire. Pop as many reasons as you like and tell us all about it below." And yes, some guys put the girls. Many people have put masochism. So we've had some great comments, so we'll read through a couple of them. But I'm really pleased with the outcome. So 93 at the top is leagues. And 91 is the actual game /rules/puzzle.
Yeah.
And the third one is the models. So less votes for the models, but there you go. The top three, you've got your leagues, you've got the game, and you've got the models, which is utterly the trifecta of Blood Bowl.
Is.
I think you're missing something there. I think it's sort of too obvious to see almost, but the community.
Oh, that's the fourth one.
None of those. Okay, is that on the list? But I don't think any of those things would happen if it wasn't for the community.
Absolutely, it goes leagues, the game, the models, the community. Then it gets a bit mixed in.
What I find interesting though is that the models is 3, the painting is 6.
Yeah, I think if you bundle them together, so the painting, the models, the hobby side, you've got tournaments kind of split there. Drinking beer got 16, which was fantastic. The meta list writing, I can see you voted for that one, Rob. And of course, Leap is in there, but only 6 votes, which is very disappointing. I think that's about 2% of the total votes were for Leap. So that's that either shows that everyone's not on their game, or they're actually focusing on giving us proper information on this one.
Heavenly
I don't think I've ever leapt.
What?
I don't think I ever have.
I mean, I've played humans, Skaven, and halflings.
So if you want to see,
what am I supposed to leap?
If you want to see Leap go wrong, I recommend to any of our listeners out there, go watch episode 2 of season 1 of 7 Super Series, and you will see Lewis pilot our Wood Elf team, and he shows you how to not use Leap.
Very well.
Bless his heart, he did not do very well. So yes, I'm really pleased to see that actually leagues, the game, and the models, and of course the community, which you're exactly right, Rob, rounds it all up, were the top reasons. I was really hoping for an outlier, but actually. It's league, so the story, your franchise. That's
massive for me. That
it's massive for everybody, and it makes it really interesting. So the other episodes, 1 or 2 episodes ago, we spoke about match play and sevens leagues.
Yes,
and it was about actually can you fit that element in there and still have a competitive gaming environment in something as small as sevens where things are more volatile, and it was really difficult to shoehorn it in because. The feel of a league and the competitive game of a tournament are really so very different.
They really are.
And it just makes that, I think, is why people love Blood Bowl, is because it's not one game. No. It's 2 games, and it's the game outside the game, which is your list building, your modelling, you're buying things, you're painting things, you're not painting things, you're writing stories for it, doing spreadsheets. Like there's so much outside of the game that just means that you can still be playing, you can still be playing when you're not playing. And now we're very lucky that actually there's a lot of things to watch and listen to. There's loads of Blood Bowl podcasts. There's loads of people streaming Blood Bowl 2. There's not a lot of gameplay of actual models. I think we're probably doing the best series out there at the moment for actual tabletop Blood Bowl because it's very hard to film and make interesting. So yeah, Rob, for you, man, what's your huckleberry? What is it about Blood Bowl that you really love?
If I had to pick one thing, I think the community element to it. There's lots of other things I like about it. I think think it's quite a good small game that you can carry around easily, throw on the table and play. It's relatively cheap compared to other games that I was playing when I stopped playing them, start playing more Blood Bowl. But it's the community, it's the other people around me. Whilst I've been talking to you guys, the local chat's been going with different things happening in it. It seems to encourage other people to play, and I love that. A guy messaged me just after the league started saying there was very little in life that brought him more joy than playing in the league. I thought, that's possibly a bit dramatic, but won't be passing that one along to his wife. But still, it's I get that. I really enjoy it. With the whole kind of league play, particularly. My guys have different backstories. I know who they are and what they are. When one of them dies, it means something to me. And I don't necessarily get that with something like 40k or some of the other games I've played before. So I think it's Blood Bowl kind of gets under my skin a lot more for whatever reason than a lot of other games. And I think it's that kind of mix of the story and the community. And it's the kind of whole sports role play thing. I mean, it's
I don't know if you got a chance to look at some of the comments I pasted into our show notes, but you picked up on a whole bunch of them there.
I deliberately didn't read the comments because I didn't want to parrot any of them by accident.
So straight there, both down were straight in there saying it's a sports role-playing game, and that's their favourite thing. But you also picked up on this, easy to get into with only 11 to 16 minis to paint up.
And they're genuinely relatively cheap.
Yeah.
20 quid for a box.
Yeah, that's it. You can make it as expensive or as cheap as you want, really, can't you?
Yeah.
And I think one of the big things as well is that if you've got a good league together, then people don't mind if you proxy minis at all.
No.
You know what? We had a comment about that as well, which was, this was from, I think this was from Mike Davies, actually. I like the count as modelling opportunities. Basically, use whatever figures you like as long as they're clear for the opponent. Now.
That's it. So,
well, Ray, who played in the Secret Carnage, he's got a 3D printer, relatively cheap one,
danger
and
zone.
he found some sort of multi-parts 3D printable little Rockmen type figures. So he's printed them out, 3D modelled some spikes in different places on different ones, so it's easy to see which the positionals are, and he's got this sort of Lava Man team which look really cool. He's going to run them as Chaos or whatever else. But yeah, again, it's that kind of, he's playing the game his way, and I love that. It's like,
I couldn't agree more, and that's the third part, which is the modelling, and which feeds into everything else. I mean, Rich, you've done a fantastic job with your not Dark Elves, but you've taken a bunch of models you really like, and you found a team that relates to them, and now you get to play Blood Bowl with a franchise that's just yours. And actually, that's amazing. You don't get to do that in a lot of other games for a reasonable amount of money, a reasonable amount of effort. And now you're in a position where you've got that team sorted, and you can move on to the next project or whatever, and you can just build up a portfolio of great projects.
Yeah, that's it. And it is just so simple to do, isn't it? And even like the likes of Reaper, I think most of us now have some sort of Reaper model.
Yeah, we went down the rabbit hole as we did, didn't we?
We really did. But then my Undead Pirates, the 2 zombie ogres, the vampire and the banshee, all came from Reaper, and I think it cost me about £15 for all 4 models. Now you try and find 2 ogre models that are going to cost, what is it? I think it was about £8 between the 2 of them.
I did. You could use the guys I used my Treeman, who are again from Reaper.
Oh yeah. Sorry, like a Games Workshop model.
No, that's £40.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly it. And you're looking at it, kind of going, nah.
Or £80 if you want 2 Treeman.
Yeah, exactly. It's just insane, and I know there's a sector of the community who is very anti anything that's not an obvious fantasy football miniature being put on the Blood Bowl pitch, particularly if it's Sigma related.
Or World War II related, as we've
or
also
World War
seen.
II related. Or
I'm not a fan of things that aren't fantasy, but that's just me.
I don't think there's a lot out there that isn't fantasy, that is expansion.
I've seen some, I can't remember who it was, but they did like a post-apocalyptic team, and if someone wants that, if someone's playing with that, then if that's your thing, go for it, but it's not mine.
All right, what do you think about the little chibi monster teams then, like with the little penguins and the little dragons?
Yeah, again, It's not a team I'm going to own. But again, there's so much scope in Blood Bowl for all that kind of different level of creativity. Just because it's not my thing doesn't mean it's not someone else's.
Exactly, and because it's a board game, you can have it, and as long as it's clearly labelled, you can roll with it. I mean, my favourite thing is the Lego teams.
I was going to say exactly the same thing. The Lego team I saw once was bloody brilliant.
It's just so good.
Someone asked me with relation to Carnage Cup, what were the rules on kind of proxying things? I say, well, basically, you could turn up with a chess team, a load of chessmen, the different people being different positionals, it would work.
As long as they're clearly labelled.
Yeah,
your opponents know what you're playing against. It's all good, isn't it?
It wouldn't be my favourite team to play against, but by the time you've got a chess set, you've probably got enough positionals in there and a load of pawns with alignment.
You could definitely run a human team anyway.
You could definitely run a human team.
Yeah. Queen's your ogre, job done. So there's a couple of other really great comments. This is one of my favourite ones, which was from JW Paints Minis.
Oh.
Because this is how I kill elves.
That was my favourite by far.
I thought you'd like that one.
I've listed 3 that were my favourites, and it is number 1.
What were the other ones you had on there?
William Lee, A Game of Thugs, but played by gentlemen.
I like that one as well.
I like that one.
Yeah.
And the other one was from Porter Sorter. The fact that both players are really battling Nuffle more than each other.
Oh, it's so true.
And it's like, I've never really thought about it until you look at that and you're like, it's right.
That was a continuation comment, though. The rest of his comment was that you can put as little or much effort into, you can put as little or as much as you want into it. You can spend as much time as you like painting 16 guys, and whatever you do is fine. You can play to win or just play the game, or you can lose yourself deep into the meta. And the fact both players are battling Nuffle is perfect.
Yeah,
that is exactly
I paraphrase, I have to admit.
No. But the point is that actually he picked out that thing, which is really true, but everything else he said completely aligns up with what we've mentioned and what everyone else is picking up on. Easy to get into with only 11 to 16 guys. And there's a couple here, this is actually Milton from our local club. Partly because no 2 games are ever the same. Each game has its unique up and down moments, and nothing's more satisfying than making an impossible play happen. But mostly I love Blood Bowl because you're an enabler. That was directed at me, and I'm a plastic crack addict. Laughing face, and he is. And honestly, that is another problem: is that the team entry is so low that you can have a bunch of teams.
You can have 6 teams for the same cost as a small army in Sigma.
And oh my gosh, chaps, Blood Bowl 7s is even worse.
Yeah, it really is.
It's just insanely bad.
But I suppose the other thing with having multiple teams is different teams. If I play my Skaven, I know I can win games with them. If I play my half-elves, my halflings, I know there's a chance.
Team there, Rob.
Yeah, I have. I have already started thinking about it in that 3 seconds. If I play my halflings, I know that I'm probably not going to get anywhere near winning. So there's, depending on what I'm going to do, it gives me a different level of competitiveness I can choose from.
And
does that make sense?
Different. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I can choose to be competitive or not.
It's very similar to deck building in something like Magic. I've got a couple of other comments here. One's from Kyle, and Kyle is a fantastic guy who has helped with the 7 Super Series. Puts D&D and football together. Also, the simplicity of it, even my kids can pick it up real quick.
It's so true. It really is true. And round the end now, Mason's picking it up. A testament to it. And you can make Blood Bowl as simple or as difficult as you want to make it. And with the entry level, you can give, there you go, those players have got dodge, those players have got block.
Yeah,
there's your basics.
But going back to the previous segments about the specialist tournaments, there's no reason why you couldn't have a tournament aimed at children where you stripped out a load of the otherwise basic rules, just have 1 or 2 skills. You could do that with Blood Bowl, and it'd still be Blood Bowl.
It just sounds like a perfect environment for Blood Bowl 7s, if you ask me.
Yeah.
There's another great comment, which I think is absolutely bang on, which was from the Tackle Zone. I like how much the game can hurt your soul.
It's so true. It is so
And that
true.
is from literally rolling a bunch of 1s and having your opponent roll a bunch of 6s, and also from playing League. And I know we've said this hundreds of times, but if you want your kids to learn about loss, get them playing Blood Bowl in a league. Get them to build up a player, get them to love that player, and then kill it.
Yeah.
And I guarantee they'll learn some life lessons.
Oh, won't they just?
And I think the fact that I've been playing Blood Bowl since I was 7 years old is probably why I'm so dour as a human being. Is because I've been there. I've had hundreds of my favourite friends just murdered by ogres, and keeps me awake at night.
I've got some players I'm a little bit scared to put on the pitch anymore.
Oh, it's so horrible. You just end up with teams that you're just like, I don't want to bring the team out because they will just die.
I genuinely panic when playing with my renegades in case someone kills my Minotaur.
Ooh, how nearly happened, didn't it?
It very nearly happened.
I think, and your Goblin. Your Goblin's the one.
My Goblin's my underrated star player on that team.
Goblin does a great job.
He really does.
Yeah.
2 heads, 2+ dodging everywhere. 2 die uphill, carousels. Brilliant.
So those are just a few of our thoughts about why Blood Bowl is so great. And with the fantastic response from the community, we can see that actually everybody feels the same way, is that there is simply just too much to love. You've got all the angles. You've got the stuff for the painters. You've got the stuff for the brewers, the rule writers. Let's face it, Rob, when it comes to planning tournaments and leagues, we're basically dungeon masters. It gets that dungeon master right. Let's build some narrative. Let's build a game for people to play in.
I do the dungeon mastering when I do it for our local group. Hasn't happened in a while, but it is the same kind of thing as that. You have to put a lot of effort into beforehand, but it's definitely worth it.
It is so good, and it comes back to your favourite thing, which is building that community, and you do have almost a self-perpetuating thing that comes alive and lives outside of, it becomes a sum greater than its parts in every way.
Yeah.
And that's whether you run a tournament, because it's weird, but you do come away from a tournament, and every tournament has its own identity, this feeling of being there, the climate, the meta, the teams, the participants. Every tournament has its own feel, its own identity.
It's its own mini culture, isn't it?
And we had this with Mana Bowl. We've been to 2, and each one felt different.
Yeah, really good.
I think in a way, though, if a tournament doesn't have that, then it's probably not going to be the tournament you remember, the tournament you talk about, and the tournament you go back to.
I think you're exactly right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that's why having that unique selling point for a tournament is really important.
Yeah.
Whether it's the story element, which you've built with Secret going into Carnage, or just the setting, which is, so Bonehead Bowl, the setting speaks for itself. It's just absurd Blood Bowl. Yeah. Sevens, again, there was a setting there. When it comes to Beachhead next year, we've got it set on the coasts, on the cliff tops of Albion, and your teams are playing for one of 2 sides that are trying to control the island, and the winner of the cup gets to choose. But as far as your coach is concerned, he doesn't care. He just wants to go and win money.
Have you mentioned the date for that yet? Because I need to write that date down.
So we did a post last week for our tournaments, but our first one, like Rich mentioned earlier, is the 8th of February, which will be our first tournament of the year. And I'm hoping we'll be involved in at least one linked tournament series, but we will see about that.
That'll be good.
We will see about that. So I think that covers everything we've got written down. There was a bunch more comments there, so anybody who did write in and tag and comment, thank you so much for being involved and for sharing your views, and hopefully everybody who said something has heard someone else say the same thing, shall we say.
Yep.
So let's go on to the last bit. Let's go on to our star player of the episode. Okay, so it's star player time. So star player for the episode, we have gone for Skitter Stab, the Skaven stabbing chap. The reason we've gone for it is because according to the NAF World Cup Twitter, she is the top taken star player for the World Cup. I know the Glarts were right up there as well, but thanks to Underworld being insanely popular at the World Cup because of the way the tournament build lies.
Okay, yeah.
And it's themed around Underworld. They've got their own team come out for it as well.
Of course they do.
Which is really cool.
I
So I
think if you play Underworld, you can get the team early to get it at the World Cup, which is cool.
That's so cool. I think 60-something coaches took it.
It's a nice team too, that one.
Which is, I don't know, maybe a fifth of the squads have taken it, which is really cool. And they're tier 3 in the World Cup, which means they get an absolute ton of skills. Right. And, that's a great build. So, Skitter Stab. We have got, he can play for Skaven or Underworld, 160, movement 9, strength 2, edge 4, armor 7. So, gutter runner. Yeah. Okay, gutter runner there. He's got Loner, standard for a star player. Dodge, standard for a gutter runner. Then it gets interesting. Prehensile tail, shadowing, and stab.
I love this.
So it's such a cool build. Now, first things first, 160k is cheap. That's loot grip level.
It is loot grip. Right?
That is actually a useful amount of money. It's more than a special weapon. It's more than the 100 throwaway. Do I get a reroll or do I get a chainsaw? This is actually.
I looked at this earlier. I don't really play much Underworld, but Skaven, I can fit him into a 1 million build Skaven tournament team. He'll be the 12th player, and I get a reroll. So
you drop a couple of rerolls.
Yeah, I basically dropped kind of 2 rerolls from the normal and the pocket 3.
Yeah,
pocket 3. I can't pronounce that word. The doctor, the plague doctor. Yeah. But yeah, and that's 5 gutter runners, 2 blitzers, and a thrower. Yeah,
I hope you're listening, Rich.
5 gutter runners is probably my favourite positional in the entire game. I love them.
I'm almost there with you. I've had a bit of a change of heart recently, which is Pro Elf catchers. Because when I run them on 7 Super Series, I'm tempted to take a team of 3 Pro Elf catchers because they've got nerves, so you can build them into throwers, and then you just got 4 guys that ignore tackle zones with movement 8, edge 4, strength 3.
Yeah, that's very good.
I know that's my build next year. But yeah, so this guy, he's got stab, so he's strength 2. He's got dodge, which is slight protection.
Mm-hmm.
You can get that stab either on a blitz, or I really wouldn't recommend putting him on the line.
No.
But if you do deploy him in a base contact with someone, he has got shadowing and prehensile tail. So they get -1 to dodge away anyway, because prehensile tail will trip him up.
Yep.
So if he stabs and fails, they can either punch him, which is what they're probably going to do, to be fair.
It's a smart choice.
Yeah, but say you chuck a guy with guard next to him, he protects him or something like that.
Yep.
He gets that opportunity to stab. They dodge away at -1, which, it's going to affect the edge 3 players.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's got shadowing, so he can follow up anyway.
And with movement 9, it's almost guaranteed every time.
And Rich is exactly right. Movement 9. So this guy can be an assassin, but he can also be a fantastic scoring opportunity without you suffering that absolute heart-wrenching thing that is the loss of a gutter runner. Which sounds like you've probably been through as well, Rob.
I've not lost one of my skilled up ones, but that's partly because I'm a bit too scared to play my skilled up ones.
Yeah, I lost my 200 and something TV one earlier in the season, but fortunately I've got a second Edge 5 one in reserve, so it's fine. Yeah,
I've lost matches because I've refused to put my best gut runner on the table. It's better to lose that match than lose that bolt.
Sometimes. So, I believe you guys have both played with him recently.
I have on BB2.
I haven't actually played with him. I painted. I was painting one before you let me know. Yeah.
So why were you painting him up? Is this to run as part of your Skaven team in the future, or just because
the league is trying to build up a library of star players we can lend out for a small fee, so we can use that to buy other star players. But
that's such a good idea. That's a really good idea.
Yeah, eventually we'll attempt to get all of them.
I've got a one-man mission to do the same.
Mm-hmm.
But no, there was a made to order a while back with some of the Skaven stuff from the past.
Yeah.
One of those reached out to me and said, "Oh, yeah, I can be Skitter Scab Stab," so I got it. And it was sat in my painting box for a while, and I was fed up of painting halflings. I've got the Iron Golem halfling team, and they're beautiful, wonderful models, and they're really detailed, and they're tiny, and they're a bit scary to paint. I just don't know whether I can do them justice.
You wanted to paint something brown.
Well, I paint my Skaven purple because I'm an idiot, but yeah. So purple flesh, and then all my star players have purple paint scheme, so they all look like they're star players and different to everyone else. So yeah, I just decided to paint one up.
That's cool.
Yeah,
so, Rich, you've used him in games recently.
I have, and I used him almost like the way you just said. So both my blitzers have got guard.
Ah, brilliant.
And so on kickoff, I used him at the front. The free stab's fine, but I always had blitzer either side of him. So if someone wants to do it, you're looking at least strength 3, if not a strength 4 block.
And I suppose if you go with the stab first, if it doesn't go right, you can mop up with those blitzers.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I can still push someone away and he doesn't get taken out. And that's pretty much how I used him. I put him into a position, particularly with the shadowing, provided it worked out still that I could still get that benefit from the guard blitzer, then I can still move him round and still take a pop shot at someone, even if you're looking at an orc on AB9. If you can still get through that armor on 10 with a stab,
it's a 1 in 6 chance of doing that with an armor 9 guy.
See, it's not horrendous.
It's worth a pop. I mean, he's a star player, so if it goes wrong, you don't. Okay, you've lost 160 in inducements, but it's not going to affect your team.
No.
But it does still give you movement 9, edge 4, dodge.
You've still got that opportunity there to be able to win the game with him if necessary.
Yeah.
And if we could take secret weapons like stab, I would take a gutter runner in my Skaven team.
Just run it with stab all the time.
And just
All the time.
just run it with stab. Yeah, and just have fun. I know they had Weeping Dagger, didn't they, once?
They still do.
Technically do, yeah. Depending on which rule set you're using. Man, with movement 9, shadowing is almost automatically successful against most people. That's ridiculous.
Crazy, isn't it?
And actually, you could apply those. You put him on a ball carrier. The ball carrier tries to dodge away. He's stuffed.
Mm.
He's got to dodge, and then this guy's just got to dodge forever because he's following
Every time.
Yeah.
On movement 9 as well. It's forever.
So for 160k, you get an opportunity at removal. You get a scoring player, and you get a marking player who would make a pretty good safety.
Yeah, he would.
That sounds like a really good all-round, it's sort of really good toolbox.
Tell you what, Prehensile Tail and Shadowing is a great.
I suppose the disadvantages to him are in league play. He's going to be soaking up a lot of your star player points.
Yeah,
from taking people out and from scoring. And the other thing is his rules aren't the simplest. You've got shadowing, Prehensile Tail can trip me up sometimes for some reason, and stab. They're not rules you come across every day, so they can be confusing. So I've seen people where they've got rules they don't necessarily know particularly well because it's on the star player they haven't played before. It's cost them games before, so you do have that slight risk.
Yeah, but if you're taking a star player with those rules, you would hope that the person taking them would clue themselves up a bit better.
Yes.
On those rules. So if you're using them and you haven't used it correctly, then you've almost got yourself to blame.
And then you've
definitely.
Got an interesting situation where then you've got Glart Smash Rip Jr., who's 50k more, 7438 claw juggernaut block. He would take up some Kaz, but he wouldn't necessarily take your scoring. But he is 50k more.
He's a great little one to take, isn't
he? Yeah.
In a tournament build, 50k more is very near the stab and the extra reroll than Glart Smash Rip.
Yeah, I mean, in a tournament build, he gives you, when you're not worried about developing your own players. I mean, ideally, you want to develop your own players to be that scoring element as well, but it gives you that extra scuring opportunity and, you know, a little bit of a dodgy removal. But yeah, quite an interesting player. I'm not surprised that there's quite a lot taken at the World Cup because for Underworld, it gives you a gutter runner, and if you play against a soft, it gives you the opportunity to take out one of their star players just with a straight knock, which is really, really cool. That wraps up everything for our main content for today. Rob, thank you ever so much for joining us and for hiding in your car, taking the call from us.
My wife just texted they're banging on the walls, so I think they may be alerting her that someone's stealing the car. But hey.
Rob, was there anything you wanted to mention before we said goodbye?
No, just North Wales Carnage Cup. If you have any questions about it, feel free to reach out. So
we'll be sure.
Social media.
For some reason,
the email address is bbcarnage. Am I back?
Yeah, we lost you for a bit there.
Sorry.
That's all right, mate. We will. We'll put the information for the North Wales Carnage Cup in our show notes,
sure.
So that anybody near Wrexham, is it? Sorry,
it's Dim Wrexham. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. Can pop along. And what was the date for that one again?
23rd and 24th November.
Lovely. So you know what? It's over a month before Christmas. There's no excuse.
It's time. And cheap.
Fantastic. Well, Rob, thank you ever so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure to have you, and hopefully we'll have you back again sometime. And if we don't speak before, I hope the tournament goes well.
Thank you very much for having me.
No, brilliant. Thanks for your time. That is it for us today. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And see you next time.
Don't forget, 2 heads aren't always better than 1.